Likkutei Torah, Emor, page 62, first column. We'll start exactly middle of the column, middle of the page. Emor. Okay, the Alter Rebbe asked a question. First, the Alter Rebbe was speaking. The Alter Rebbe was speaking that Hashem in the world is not like the neshama in the guf. The neshama in the body is affected by the body because it permeates in it. But Hashem is not like that. So then he asked the question, but there is the way Elokus comes into the world in details of it. There's Atzilus, B'riyah, and Asiyah. There's inanimate, plant, animal, and human, and there's a billion things. What do you mean? So he says, yeah, that's the level of Maamar Kolam. That's only as if. And he's explaining now, that's the level of Kinizk of Shmoi Levadai. Even Shmoi is exalted, has nothing to do with the world. Haydei, a ray of Shmoi, Maamar Kolam, which is a ray of Sefer Kolam, and that's what actually impacts the world. This is where we're up to now. So he said, and therefore it says, Ani Avai Shanisi. That level of Elokus, which is Sefer Kolam, it says, Ani Avai Shanisi, Atokerim Shinivram Hakol B'Shava. Okay? And that's what he says in the Pasuk, Elokim Chayim U'Meloch Elam. Okay? So the Pasuk, Elokim Chayim, which again, we started this last time. Elokim is plural. And then it becomes Melech Elam. Mean Pirush Mashu Elokim Chayim. This that Elokim is Chayim, meaning this that Elokim gives Chayim, life to the world. Shenim Shemimenu Chayis Liyislabis Min B'chol Nivra B'Pnim Yosef Mamish. That this that Elokim, Breishim Bar Elokim, right? That Elokus comes into the world in details to make every single thing exist accordingly, and therefore Elokim Lashon Rabbi. That's the expression Elokim Chayim. This is really what we're up to. This Hamshacha is Rak B'Bchinas Melech Elam. We say every day in davening, Elokim Chayim u'Melech Elam. After Baruch, right? So he's saying Elokim because it's pluralism, Lashon Rabbim. Therefore, that level of Elokus becomes Chayim, is able to give life. How? Melech Elam through the level of Malchus. Because we learned, Malchus is the lowest level. Malchus is speech. Malchus is where the diversity begins. So how is the Hashem from the level of Sefer Kolam, the infinite level of Hashem, how is it able to come down into the finite level? That's through the level of Tzimtzum. Hainu mechinis midas Malchus is barach, like it's in Malchus kol elamed. Misham nimshach gamkin. And from that level of Malchus, the level of Elokim Chayim, comes to be Seder Ishtalshlus, the chain of the worlds in Ila Va'olu, cause and effect. Ma'alomatik Me'erosh V'guf Kanal. In other words, that level of Elokus Taka, and that's what he said. Mipsari Echzalaka, just like the Medrash says, or the Gemara also says, just like the Nefesh permeates the body, Hashem permeates the world. Which means there is that connection between the Nefesh's details in the body and Hashem's details in the world. But that's not the level of Ani Havaya Le'Shanisi. Havaya is Le'Shanisi. Elokim, the level of Tzimtzum, the level of pluralism, that is what creates the world. But the essence of Hashem Kodesh Umuvdal is completely being moved from the world. He's a Melech. And he says, okay, like the king ruling a country, the king controls the country, people fear the king, but again, the king doesn't go out to the masses. The king himself sits in the palace. The king is removed from the people. The king has nothing to do with the people. He orders things, he gives orders, or the name of the king years ago. I mean, when somebody said the name of the Tsar or the king, then people got scared just saying the name. But that's the way, it's not the king himself, it's the orders of the king, the speech of the king. The same thing in the Malchus of Hashem. Hashem himself has absolutely nothing to do with the world. He's not in the world, he doesn't go out into the world. He gives Malchus speech, Elokim Chayim, that's what gives life to the world. By the kingdom, the king doesn't come into the people. The king said, and that's Memshalte Ve'Mosei. So it says, Kamei Ken Yuvan L'mayla. So we'll understand the way it is in Be'elokus. It comes in the level of Malchus, which is speech, which is Elokim, which allows pluralism. Shemachin is Malchus, from the level of Malchus. Nimshachli is Mispashet, the Mislabish Shachayis Begimel Elim. So now is able to come the life of the three worlds, Gan Eden Elyon, Gan Eden Tachten, and Olam Hazeh, like you said before, Reish Kuf and Regel is a higher Gan Eden, the lower Gan Eden, and this world. The Gan Ba'am is moved, and Mimashal Hamlucha. We'll also be able to understand from the Mashal of a kingdom, which is this Pchinas, is Nasus, is Makav Mumaylanche Medina. Just like by the king, he's above the country, Kav Pchinas Malchusei. Save of Makav Aleim, it also surrounds the worlds. Ragziva Hara Mimenu. Only a ray of Malchus, like we say, Nizgav Shmoy Levade. Like the name of the king is what controls. That even the name of the king is removed. A ray of that Ziva Shchina, Shenim Shelachich Lias Koyach Apel Benifel Mamish. So what actually creates the world? A ray of Hashem's name. So therefore, if you're talking about the connection between world and Hashem, it's a Niyavayla Shanisi. Hashem is absolutely not affected by world in any way whatsoever. The only thing that's affected of Elokus in the world is a ray of his name. Like the king's orders is totally irrelevant to the king himself. And then his Shaykh Ishtaushus Ila Ba'ol, or Kamesha Kosel Il, Afilo B'china Shmai, that even the Shmai, which in Malchus, is also Nizgav Levadi. Even Malchus of Atzilus is also removed from world. And that's Ata Kodesh V'Shimcha Kodesh. That's what we say. We say Ata Kodesh V'Shimcha Kodesh. Why don't we say Ata V'Shimcha Kodesh? Why don't we say Ata Kodesh V'Shimcha Kodesh? They're both holy. We should say Ata V'Shimcha Kodesh. Save a word in davening. Why is it? Because it's not the same level of Kedusha. Kedusha means removal. Like we're in Kodesh removal. There's a level of Ato Kodesh, and there's a level of Shimcha Kodesh. It's not the same level. Ato is the essence of Hashem, the essence of the king. Shimcha is the name of the king that controls the country. So granted, it's removed from the people, but it's not the same level as the essence of the king is. So we can't say Ata v'Shimcha Kodesh because that would imply it's the same level of Kodesh, and it's not. But Shmai is also, Shmai is also removed from world, but not as much as Ata is. It's completely removed from world. Now we can understand through this in the Sefer Torah. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. So there's a big ayin at the end of Shema, and a big dal at the end of Echad, which, as the Mefarshim explain, it's aid, witness, testimony, and it's also da, to know. Dalit. So what's the big dalit? Sharem es l'midas malchus yisbar kaneda, which it says in Kabbalah, dalit is also malchus, whatever. So big dalit is the higher level of Malchus, the way it still is in Atzilus. If that's the case, why do we say Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Leil and Voed? Halei Kvar Nimis in Yen Malchus Bedal Rapsi Dechot. The Alter Rebbe is asking like this. We know in Chumash it says Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The word Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Leil and Voed, that pasuk is not a pasuk. It's not in Chumash. Okay. Why do we say it? Two reasons. And took first the simple reason, then according to Chassidus. The simple reason why do we say it? Because when Yaakov Avinu, two reasons. When Yaakov Avinu wanted to bless his children before he died, and the Shekhinah left him, Rashi says in Parshat Vayechi, so Yaakov thought maybe there's a psul, something wrong with his kids. So the children said to Yaakov, Shema Yisrael, listen, Yisrael, our father, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. So when Yaakov Avinu heard that, he said, Baruch Shem Kved Malchus, thank you, Hashem. It's one reason why we say it. Another reason why we say it, because when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai to get the Torah, he was there for 40 days. He went touring a little bit in the heavenly spheres. So he heard the Malachim singing this praise to Hashem, Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Le'olam. So he liked it. So he brought it back down to earth. So that's why it says, why do we say it quietly? Because you don't publicize stolen goods. Moshe Rabbeinu stole it, so to speak, from the Malachim. So you don't scream, I stole something. So you do it quietly. That's why Yom Kippur, when we're all like angels, we say it out loud. That's the simple reason. Okay, according to Chassidus, it's not in the Chumash, but Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is Alter Rebbe says in the Gesed, okay, I mean Shayachet Amunah. That's Yichud Ilah, the higher level of Yichud, Havaya Echad, and Baruch Shem Kaved Malchus Le'olam Vaed, Shem Kaved Malchus is the three worlds, Bri Yitzir and Asiyah. So that's the way Elokus comes down into the world. So in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, the Gemara said they didn't say Baruch Shem. So Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad v'Yahavta. Later on, by the second Beis HaMikdash, Anshe Knesset HaGedol instituted it. So Chassidus explains, those in the Sham, because to come from Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad to v'Yahavta Hashem Elokecha, it's a very big leap. So in the first Beis HaMikdash, the Yidden were so holy, they were able to go straight from Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad to v'Yahavta in Avodah. Through meditation of Echad, they were able to come straight to v'Yahavta to love Hashem. Later on, there was the Yeridus Aderis, people who were not the same level anymore. So Anshe Knesset HaGedol instituted that we say Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Le'olam Vaed. Because to go from a higher level of Yichud, that Einoid Mulvadai, to a level that there is worlds, there is 7 heavens and earth, and Daled Ruchas Ha'olam, yeah, so that's Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Le'olam is the intermediary between Yichud Ilah of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad and v'Yahavta Hashem Elokecha. But here the Alter Rebbe is asking, if the big Dalet of Echad is Malchus, so why do we need to say again Baruch Shem Kved Malchus? We already said it in Echad. You want to say something?
No. If already Yaakov said it, then already knew about it.
Yeah, but they didn't say it.
That was my question. So it wasn't a chiddush. I mean, it was a chiddush.
Yaakov Avinu was the first one to say it.
Right. So why is it considered stolen? Why did we have to learn?
Because we didn't know about it until Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai and stole it.
So it must be old.
You know, like you go stolen goods, you go like this in New York. You know, and they sell the watches, you go like this.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. They used to. They still were a little bit more refined. They stole, but they.
How do you know that Yaakov said that?
The Medrash says. How do you know anything? The Medrash says that Yaakov.
They should have known a few hundred years later in Egypt.
They didn't learn Medrash.
Why the sons didn't continue saying it if their father said it?
Did the sons say Krishma every day?
If they knew it, they should have said it.
It's an argument if they did.
We learn that the fact that the leaves come down this way versus this way.
That's Hashkacha Pratis.
Hashkacha by Hashem. How do we now learn Hashem has nothing to do with the war? It doesn't affect.
No, 1 minute. Depends which level of Hashem.
All the details is involved.
That's Hashkacha Pratis. That's the level of Elokus that comes from Malchus. The ray of Malchus, the ray of Shmai, that ray comes into the world in Hashkacha Pratis.
It affects Hashem.
Yeah, no, it doesn't affect Hashem. It doesn't affect Hashem. It's part of the master plan of the whole world. But that's the way Hashem is coming into the world. It doesn't affect Hashem in any way whatsoever.
So if I take that leaves and I destroy it, Hashem doesn't get upset.
Hashem couldn't care less. You get upset because you just did an Aveda of destroying something for no reason. You destroyed it for no reason, unless there's a reason. But that level of Elokus is a level of Elokus that comes into the world. Now, in the Maamar, the Bar Mitzvah kids, that the Bar Mitzvah kids say, they say in Maamar Chazal, Im chotasa matifel bay, Rabu pshoecha matasala, Im tzadakta matitinlei, Umam yotcha yikach. Im chotasa, if you sin, you did anything to him, matifel bay. You didn't. Rabu pshoecha matasala, you didn't do anything. You do something good, matitinlei. What do you give Hashem? So there are levels of Elokus, okay, that are affected by world, i.e. Mamala Kol Almin. That's the level of Hashgacha Pratis, where Hashgacha Pratis dictates every detail that goes on in the world. That's the way, I'll just take the Nefesh, dictates every part of the sight and the mouth and the ears and so that level of Elokus, yeah. But when we say Ani Avayla Shanisi, it's the level of Elokus, like the king sitting in the palace, that's totally unaffected if the guy did something wrong to the king or not. He couldn't care less.
When we go to Shemona Esrei, we say, you are the healer. You are the one who gives us hope. You are the one who saves us. This and that. So, by our speech, you're affecting for him to bring it down.
Why is it affecting to bring him down?
Because we
No, because that's what he wants.
correct. But
Not because we affect anything. Hashem says, when you realize
right.
I heal, then I will heal you. Because you made a vessel by realizing I'm the one that does it. You're not going to daven to me, I won't heal. I mean, you can't say what Hashem does what he wants. Okay, it's not because that's the way it has to be.
Of course. But by recognizing him that he's the one, he's affecting our lives.
So the Tzemach Tzedek in Shesh Mitzvah Tefillah, which he wrote before Bar Mitzvah, the Tzemach Tzedek writes that he quotes a Medrash. Why do Jews daven and they're not answer? They don't know how to have in mind. Meaning, like you see in the Svadish Sidurim, the Alter Rebbe Siddur also, with Chassidus it's also, like after Ato Chen Landam Das, when it says Baruch Atah Hashem, there's a patach under the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, right? Another bracha is a comments. Another bracha is a segel. Another seder, right? All the various different Kabbalistic, in the Kabbalistic Siddurim. So what does it mean? Okay? The ones that daven from those Siddurim, obviously don't... what it means is like this. If you want to bring down the level of Chokhmah, you have to know how to channel Hashem into Chokhmah. Now, Patach is a level of the 10 Nukudes. There's 10 Nukudes. Patach, Kamitz, Patach, right? Those correspond with the 10 Sfiras. Patach is Chokhmah. Kamitz is Bina. Segol is Tiferes. They're all, okay, don't go to Kabbalah, okay. So a bracha that we're dealing, asking for Chokhmah, so what do we want Hashem to do? To come into the level of Chokhmah, to be Mashpia Chokhmah. If you want Bina, we need to ask Hashem to bring Hashem down into the level of Bina.
So it's coming to effect.
1 minute. So therefore it says that why do we daven for Chokhmah, let's say we're not answered? Because we don't know how to channel the level of Hashem into Chokhmah. So comes along, Samachar brings down the other opinion. It says, Ani mispalel davzat tinik. I daven like a baby, he says. A baby doesn't know Chokhmah, Bina, Das. You take a little kid. You have a massive problem. Somebody took away your candy from you. The world's shattering. So the kid davens to Hashem, please get me back my candy. Right? That's, in his mind, it's a big issue. The kid doesn't know Chachma, Bina, Das, Hatzilas, B'riyah, Tzir. A kid knows one thing. Ani Mispala does that thing when a kid davens to Hashem, he means Hashem. He doesn't know Chachma, Bina, he's davening to Hashem. Okay? So that's the two opinions, so to speak. And the way we daven today is like a dasatinik. We're not the tzaddikim, the Rebbes know how to be mechaven this and that. What goes on? We daven like babies. We daven Hashem. You think Hashem Chachma. We don't even know what it means. Being Hashem Chachma. It's Haka China. Not China, China. So that's what it is. But when we daven, it's only because Hashem says what you're doing affects me. Otherwise, it wouldn't happen. But in the level of Mamalikolam, it has its effect. Because over there is Ord and Keli. You make a Keli, you get the Ord. You don't make a Keli, you don't get the Ord. But in the level of Aniyah Vayla Shanisi, there's no Keli, there's no Ord, there's only him. In the king's palace, all the nobles and dukes and this are nothing. It's the ray of the sun in the sun. When does the duke and noble become something? When they're out of the palace. In the palace, the only thing that exists is the king. Like the famous Maamar of Yeralef Nissen, the Medrash says, there are different guys, I want this guy, and I'll say this guy, comes Pika Chechad, I know Nasa Malka. I don't want all these garbage dukes and nobles. I want the king himself.